Good.
How are you, man?
I'm really great. Really great, man.
Sick.
I guess we're doing okay compared to other places. It's not too
Yeah, I,
bad.
I I agree. I think it's getting a little bit. It's starting to get back to what it was in April. I guess the
Yeah, I'm
cases are
hearing
starting to
that.
go up, but hopefully that doesn't explode like it did. I think we're better prepared now, right? So
Yeah, for sure. But on that note too, like I guess like how your family and things with the whole quarantine for all these months. How's it been for you?
for me personally, it's been okay. Like the first couple months was like super rough, but I just didn't. I wasn't used to staying at home. I was just like I'm used to being on the road and traveling and playing shows and all that stuff. So it was hard to adjust. If I'm being honest, it was hard to adjust to like staying at home, and I felt like useless almost. I was like, what? Like I'm not contributing to society in any way possible.
Yeah,
So that kind of sucked, but we're human. We learn how to adjust and pivot in certain circumstances. So that's what I did. I just created a home studio and then have been writing and recording and just been diving in ever since, I guess, mid-April now. So it's been good.
that's good. But yeah, for me, I think it's been like I'm kind of like a homebody, but then I think
Yeah.
at a certain point, I kind of realized I've watched way too many movies and shows, and
Right.
this is going on for a lot
Yeah.
longer than I thought.
I know, right? You're like, you try on Netflix in the morning. Next thing you know, it's 6 p.m. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Where'd the time go? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But
Oh, shit.
to introduce myself, my name is Jibril Osman. I started this platform called Studio One because
Sick.
as a Toronto journalist, I've written for the 405 and Clash and all these other things. But
Nice.
in terms of like, Toronto and Canadian media, I always felt like I wanted to build a platform that I thought like Canada needed or I felt like I really wanted to see. So I built Studio
Mhm.
One way back in November.
Nice.
I interview international artists, artists across Canada, and especially local artists in Toronto to really highlight artists in the city.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for being on Studio One.
Of course, man. Of course.
Before we begin, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Hey, everyone. This is Studio One, and I am Tyler Shaw.
Cool, amazing, man. Um, so I know with like quarantine and everything, something that I've seen across a lot of artists that I've interviewed and just like online is this idea where people feel kind of more connected because of what's going on and feeling like to use their platform in a positive way. I know for
Mm.
you, you've worked with We Charity and Bell Initiative and really a proponent of mental health and how important that is. Can you
Mm.
talk to me about those things and especially with Artist Canon, bringing that up and Lean on Me and how important it is and all those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned mental health, and especially now more than ever, especially going into quarantine back in March when the city and the world just completely shut down. I think that's when people either realized they had some mental health issues, or they were able to fix themselves and be with themselves. So being involved with charities and organizations that focus in and zero on mental health specifically is super important to me. I have family members who've went through mental health problems and still go through mental health issues. And I'm also a victim. Like
Yeah,
I have been in dark places. I still try to figure out certain things, and mental health is complicated. You think about the brain and how complicated it is, right? It's super complicated.
yeah,
So trying to navigate and trying to just inspire through my music, I guess, is my take on giving back to the community and to the world, I guess, because music heals. It really does, for me at least. And yeah, I think it's always going to be something that I want to help, I guess, fix or promote and inspire to be okay with mental health and be okay on trying to fix mental health.
yeah. And on the Artist Can, I had an opportunity a few months back to interview this artist, Bad Child,
Nice.
who was a part of the Artist Can. Talk to me about, from your perspective, because I know you created it, I think with Phoebe Dobson. Talk to
Yep.
me about Bill Withers and Lean on Me and how it really kind of shows. I watched an interview previously how it kind of shows the Canadian way of us coming together and things like that.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, talk about it. I think it's amazing to see and for everyone
Thank
to
you.
come together.
Yeah, man, it was a long ass 3 weeks. I was talking to my manager about the idea, and it was like a short phone call. Hey, this could work. Let's reach out to people. So, a couple days of phone calls, emails, and direct messages. My first phone call was to Fifi Dawson, and she brought in some fantastic people. The producer John Levine, guitar player Dan Cantor. Google them; they're amazing and so well credited. But yeah, I was so happily surprised to see egos just kind of disappear. Because if you look at the track listing on the artists who are on the song, you have Justin Bieber, Sarah McLachlan, Avril Lavigne, Michael Buble. Like the list is, I think there's like 23 different artists, and everyone just came together for one purpose. Let's help Canadians. Let's help the world get through this with music, and with 100% of the proceeds going to the Canadian Red Cross. I think we did a fantastic job, and I'm so thankful for everyone who gave their time to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Just seeing how artists, just making amazing use of the time that we have and coming together. But talk to me about you in particular. But I know you grew up, in BC. What I find really interesting is that you playing soccer, and that was kind of like a avenue for you. And from the outside looking in, it looks as though you do the Much Music contest, and you immediately kind of thrust yourself into that. Did it seem so snap of the finger quick in terms of I'm a musician, this is my career for you, or how did that avenue peer into it? Because it does look like it kind of like a thrusting of sorts.
Yeah, I think looking back now, it was, I guess it does feel like a snap of the finger type thing, like you're saying, like, because at the time I was at university on a soccer scholarship, and that was like my focus was like, oh, I want to be a pro soccer player, like I'm gonna make it, like full manifestation of that. But at the same time, I was playing music, like at the bars, at the university, around the town, and just singing my heart out because I love to do it. So when this opportunity with Sony came up, I always trust my intuition. I always go with my first gut instinct. My gut instinct was to go and do the music. And I'm so happy I did, because if I go back now, I would make the same decision, because I freaking love my career. I love making music. I still play soccer on the side though. But this is where it's at for me. But I guess to answer your question, it did feel like a complete 180, because I was saying, like, my focus was fully soccer, and then I was like, oh, okay, here we go over here,
Yeah. And it's amazing too, because recently, you're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of your album Yesterday, and for you,
crazy.
I know, like, for artists, I always ask this question in terms of, when you release a record or you have shows coming up, do you tend to focus so sorely on the future, or do you allow yourself to kind of look at all the things you've accomplished, with Yesterday? Have you allowed yourself to kind of celebrate its anniversary, or because I know you're gearing up for album number 3, but have you allowed yourself to kind of stop and, be like...
It's difficult to, like, push pause, because you're setting goals, and then when you meet those goals, you're like, okay, what's the next bar? What's the next goal? That being said, like, I do really try to mentally just be like, okay, I've accomplished some pretty crazy stuff. And I'm so thankful for everyone who's supported it. And obviously the fans first and foremost. I wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah.
But on the fifth year anniversary of Yesterday, I don't even think, I posted about it. I was like, that's awesome. And then I was down here making music for the next project or the next show or whatever the case may be. When I'm playing live music, though, that's a totally different scenario. Like, if I'm on stage at the time performing, I'm so present to the songs that I'm playing, to the people in the crowd, and everything that's going on in that area. But yeah, I think people like artists or just people in general should really slow down and be, reflect on what they have in their lives, because it's really important to be thankful, right? So
Yeah, and cause yeah, I think as fans of music, most of the time it's usually like us as fans of music, where we kind of
yeah,
tell an artist, this day is special for us. This is the
yeah,
day where and I always wonder as like if you're as an artist, do you are those days marked on your calendar? But sometimes I'll talk to an artist and they'll be like, I always push forward. I don't let
yeah.
myself. But on that note too, with album number 2 and intuition and things like that, I know
Mhm.
a large part of the record was you kind of going to your roots and your background and how important
Yep.
culture is for you. Um, when in the process of that album did that become a focal point? Um, and you kind of
Yeah,
looking inwards and saying, I want to look into myself.
absolutely. So just a quick backstory, I guess. My father's from Hong Kong, and my parents got divorced when I was pretty young. So that influence of the Chinese culture wasn't really present when I was growing up. I still had a relationship with my father. It just wasn't like I wasn't learning the language. I wasn't, learning about that side of my family. And I guess this is about 5 years ago now. So right around when Yesterday came out, I actually took a trip to Hong Kong with my father. And that was such a turning point for me in my artistry and myself as a person, because I really saw this side of me, this family side of me that I had no clue about. It was like this identity crisis type thing. I was like, oh my God, this is where my dad went to school. This is, my grandparents are still here alive. I've met my uncle that I've never met before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and just spending a lot of time there really opened my eyes to be like, oh, this is the part of me that was missing all along. So that really was the catalyst to creating Intuition and using like my Chinese name and using a lot of the Chinese inspired art and colors and all that. I think that was definitely that was what did it.
And when you release that record, and I know you're the cover of the album, and the clothes that you're wearing, how special was that, for your family or for people in your background to see that, and how special that was? 'Cause I know for a lot of the interviews that you did, you pushed that, how important that is for you as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So how special, was that?
It was extremely special, it to because growing up, like I said, my Chinese heritage wasn't present. So the fact that I can be like proud of it too, because I remember being embarrassed as a child, being like, "Oh, you're half Chinese. It's weird." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, there's some kind of stigma about that when I was younger. But now it's just like I'm proud of my heritage. My family's proud of it, obviously, and they're really proud of what I'm doing for our culture moving forward. So
yeah, I think as fans of musicians, I think the more honest the artist is, the more we connect with them. So I think it's amazing that you felt like sharing this part of you, and of course your fans have been incredibly receptive to it, because I think that's really how it kind of works. The more vulnerable an artist is, the more that we connect with that artist, because we feel like
absolutely,
there's like a kinship towards it. So for you, I know a large part of a career is performing. How do you think you've grown as an artist? Performing on stage, and what are some kind of highlights where you kind of felt like this is really happening? Maybe it's fans singing your songs back to you, or things like that. Talk about that.
I definitely have grown performance wise. Like I remember my first. Well, take it back to even like performing at coffee houses. Before I was doing this professionally. So going to that, to my own sold out show just past fall, 2019.
Yeah,
there's such a growth there, and I'm still growing. I'm not saying I'm at my peak performance. Like I still have tons to learn in terms of performing, but from where I started compared to where I am now, there's absolutely a growth and a confidence that has come with that growth. In terms of a moment where I was like, a holy shit moment, I'll call it.
Yeah.
I I did a show in Calgary this past winter, and I did like an hour set, and I killed it. I had such a good time. The crowd was amazing, and I came off after my last song, and they were just like so loud. I don't think I've ever seen it or heard a show that loud before. For me, they were screaming for me to come back on as an encore. I was just like borderline tears, like, holy shit, like this is the real deal. And this is like, I'm connecting with people, and people are relating to the music and they want to hear more. So that was extremely special.
Yeah. And on the note of, connecting with your songs, one of your really big songs that you came with You, and I know a record like that, how it was really personal for you too, and getting married and things like that. When it was released, did you anticipate, the reception to that record? Because I feel like, I know you can get like the accolades and the records and the plaques and all that stuff, but for you personally, did you know when you were writing it that it kind of felt special, or as an artist do you kind of not get that inclination and you're just making the music, and how does it work?
Like every song I choose to put on my album is special to me in a different way, or similar way depending on the song. When I created that song, I was just writing an honest love song, let's call it, right? So I guess there's no secret to songwriting, but if I had to say, if there was, that would be my secret. It's just like, I'm just writing what I feel, and writing what feels good, and writing what from my experiences, and writing honestly. That being said, like, I had no idea it was going to be the number one most played song on Canadian radio in 2019. Like, not even an ounce of me was like, yeah, it's going to do that. I loved the song. And I think that's where it was like, I don't think past that. I'm like, this song I love tremendously. So chances are, if I love it, my team loves it, my wife loves it, then something about the song is special, and therefore people will love it. So that's kind of what I go with when I have a song that I'm in love with. I'll be like, hey, I'll obviously show my team, show my wife, and if the consensus is like, hell yeah, then I'm confident with it.
Yeah. And for you, writing songs as an artist, how important for you is, the craft of songwriting? How much, time and effort you put into making a song, and then feeling like, okay, I actually feel like this is kind of done. How's your process with that?
It varies, honestly, from day to day. Like, I songwrite almost every day, and sometimes it could be for an hour, and I'll finish a song, or an hour and I'll start just like a chorus or something small, or I'll do a full 8 to 10 hour day where I'm writing the song all day and producing it and finishing it. But the cool thing about songwriting is that songs don't expire. So if I write down a melody or whatever, like a full song, and I go back to it, I'm like, oh, I don't like that lyric, I can change it. Or I don't like that melody, I can change it. Chords, I can change that too. So that's the beauty of songwriting. Like, you want to get everything out of your brain and onto paper, let's say. And then you can go back and change it if you're unhappy with it. So that's kind of my process, is like, get everything down. Voice notes are maxed out, like, bedtime, 2 a.m., whatever it may be.
Now with album number 3 on the horizon, I know you released a record called Remember. Where is the process of that going on to album number 3? What have you learned, I guess, from releasing album 1 and 2 and growing as an artist and performing? How are you, I guess I wouldn't say like tackling it, but how's album 3 for you? Where are you musically in your life?
I think it's only getting better. I am constantly learning, like I said before, whether that's songwriting and producing or whatever the case may be in the music, performing. I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly growing, and I want to be doing that, because that's the only way you're going to get better. If you think you know it all, then you don't. Basically, there's no possible way. So as long as as long as my mind is open and able to receive information, then I think it's only going to get better. Now the third album is, again, it's honest. It's just honest music that I'm writing from the heart and writing from the soul, with other writers as well. Very UK inspired sonics and writing styles. And Remember's just the start of it all. Remember's a transition song into the next project, so lots to come, lots of emotional ballads, of course. I think that's what I'm best at, but a lot of fun songs too. So I'm extremely excited for it. I think it's definitely a step up from where Intuition was left off with, so I'm excited.
Amazing. Usually when I get near the end of interviews, I would ask an artist, what's the rest of the year looking like for you? We have shows or things like that. But with COVID-19, I've had to change that question. So for you in particular, what's something that has helped in your own life that you've learned through this musical journey? Whether it's having more of the appreciation for the background of your culture and really putting that on the forefront, or mental health and being a beacon of hope to other people and spreading that message of how important that is. So for you on this musical journey, what's something that has really made you, I guess, a better person, throughout this whole journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of things, like you're saying, understanding myself, like you're saying, the identity and the background of the culture, mental health, spending time for yourself is super important. Literally, I think it comes down to just a balance and knowing how to balance, music, love life, your own mental health, your family, your friends, your hobbies. It's just, it's on a plate, and you just need to kind of learn how to balance all that stuff, right? So that's kind of been the biggest learning curve for me, is just learning how to prioritize the important things and kind of go with that, I guess.
Yeah. And two things that I wanted to say in the beginning of the interview, but I just thought it would be better to keep at the end.
Sure.
I actually had a chance to interview you on the Much Music Awards in 2018 on the red carpet, but when people walk by, I kind of miss the chance of things like that. So it's amazing, for me, for a full circle moment to really connect with you. Yeah,
we're doing it now. This is awesome.
Yeah, because I've always been a fan of the music, so
I appreciate that.
Really
Thank you.
Great that we've had this full circle moment.
Totally.
Also got a chance to check you out at the Jingle Ball a few years back too.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun show.
Yeah, it was really great. But yeah, on a final note, what's something that you've done, in this quarantine, that you're actually going to take with you after, when hopefully the world spins its web again? What's something you've learned about yourself? Maybe you've gotten better at piano or things like that. What's something that...
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned about myself is just I've been practicing patience quite a bit, and I guess breathing, which sounds silly to say, but it's kind of true. Just taking deep breaths when you need it, kind of thing. Other than that, I've been trying to learn Mandarin, so that's kind of those are the main things that I'll be taking with me from this whole quarantine experience.
That's great, man. Again, thank you so much for being on the platform.
Of course,
the new single is really great, and
thank you.
When the world spins on its axis again, I can't wait to catch you live, and see album number 3 live.
Sounds good, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Great. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too. Take care.
Studio